HQTV, Channel 6 in Spokane, salutes the community-owned translators, on which it is viewed in many parts of Washington, Oregon, Montana, Idaho, British Columbia, and Alberta. Q6 urges you to support these locally operated translators, which bring the best in television to your area.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Monica Hart. Holly, Houston has the day off. It's currently 32 degrees on this 29th day of January. Well, we all continue to mourn this morning the deaths of the crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger. The shuttle exploded yesterday shortly after takeoff. The commander of the spacecraft was Francis Dick Scobie. He was born in Washington. His parents live in Yakima. Gary Darrigal reports family and friends feel a deep sense of loss.
The parents of Dick Scobie were not at their Yakima home when the tragic explosion occurred. Francis and Eddie Scobie were among those watching the launch from Cape Canaveral. Their neighbors at this mobile home park in Yakima watched horrified, though, as the near-perfect launch ended in a fireball. Neighbors remembered Dick Scobie fondly.
He was always very congenial, willing to help anybody that needed help. He mowed my lawn when Mr. Love wasn't able to mow my lawn. He was just a good guy.
It's a real tragedy. It's something that nobody expected. It's kind of hard to get over something like that.
Florence Love kept mementos of Scobie's first successful shuttle flight in her home. She feels the loss of her neighbors.
I just know they're just simply, well, I just don't know how they probably have no feeling. They're probably just numb. They're such nice people, and Dick was such a nice boy. He's just as common as could be.
The Scobie home is now empty. The weather chilled outside. Empty and chilled also describe the feelings of the neighbors who knew the shuttle commander. Gary Darrigal, Q6 Nightly News.
In other news, authorities have now identified a man who stabbed himself to death in Spokane yesterday. The man was a passenger in an official Adams County car. The incident happened when 39-year-old James G. Kipp was on his way to a detox unit.
Stabbing victim that was brought in by a couple of counselors from Adams County. Apparently, the victim was picked up down in the Ritzville area today about 3:30. He is a voluntary patient for one of our local detoxification centers.
Police say the two counselors didn't know Kipp was carrying a knife. He underwent emergency treatment for the self-inflicted stab wounds to the throat, but was pronounced dead around 4:30. The case is being classified as suicide. Spokane Indians co-owners Bobby and George Brett say their team will be ready to play ball come June after the Spokane County Commission approved a rental agreement for Indians Park. Now, yesterday, the commission okayed a $10,000 per year contract. The county will pay all utilities for baseball and provide about $120,000 for badly needed grandstand improvements. Authorities say it's not a bad deal considering a new park would cost at least $3.5 million. Fans, meanwhile, are predicting the $2 million economic boost to the county during the summer months. We'll take a look at the weather forecast after this break. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones opened up this morning 6.5 points with active trading. In sports, the Philadelphia 76ers ran off 14 straight points to down the Seattle Sonics last night, 106-99. Meanwhile, in here in Spokane, Ferris beat Rogers by a score of 52-49. In weather, look for snow and possible freezing rain this morning. We could get up to 1 to 2 inches of this wet stuff by this afternoon. More clouds and a 60% chance of rain or wet snow tonight. Tonight's low down to 32, a high of 34 today, and it's currently 32 degrees. That's it for now. We'll be back in an hour for another Q6 Morning News Update. More of the Today Show just ahead.
Bigfoot, fabrication or fact? Though some may consider Sasquatch a myth, physical evidence and eyewitness sightings have made believers out of others. WSU anthropologist Grover Krantz finds it hard to dispute the evidence left by these creatures. Footprints from the Sasquatch have been analyzed, and Krantz believes them to be credible.
No person that I could conceive of could have faked something so expertly.
For studio seating reservations this Sunday, call 448-4613. Bigfoot, fabrication or fact? Up front, Sunday at 6, live on Q6.
Wheel of Fortune, weeknights at 6:30 on Q6.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Monica Hart. It's currently 32 degrees on this 29th day of January. Well, many of us are still in shock this morning over the tragic deaths of the crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger. Students in Spokane were numbed by the explosion. Holly Houston was at Ferris High School.
E. McNair, 35, Ellison Nizuka, who is 39, and...
They watched and listened in disbelief. Every television in every classroom was tuned to the national news. Normally, crowded hallways remained empty. Regular class studies stopped, as students were anxious to hear what went wrong. Some were most disturbed about the death of the first teacher in space.
I think it's an absolutely terrible thing to happen to a person who thought it would be a neat experience to go up into a space shuttle and then be literally blown to pieces by a tragic accident that is basically probably a fluke.
And to think of all the little kids that remember her.
Others were just overcome with shock.
I can't believe that it happened. I mean, I never thought that anything like this would happen.
The tragedy that we are describing for you today.
Can't believe
it. The shuttle Challenger about 2 minutes.
When I came in here, I watched it. It's amazing what happened. It's really tragic, you know, the poor families.
When we heard about it, we were just all shocked, and it was just a big devastation to all of us. It's all we've been talking about and listening.
But it's still a tragedy for all the people in the nation to feel. And it's a big setback for the NASA program.
All of these students agreed the day will be one of national mourning. Holly Houston, Q6 Nightly News.
In other news, authorities now have identified a man who stabbed himself to death in Spokane yesterday. The man was a passenger in an official Adams County car. Now, the incident happened when 39-year-old James G. Kipp was on his way to a detox unit.
All we have is a stabbing victim that was brought in by a couple of counselors from Adams County. Apparently, the victim was picked up down in the Ritzville area today about 3:30. He is a voluntary patient for one of our local detoxification centers.
Police say the two counselors didn't know Kipp was carrying a knife. He underwent emergency treatment for the self-inflicted stab wounds to the throat, but he was pronounced dead around 4:30. The case is being classified as suicide. Reverend Robert Taylor is out of St. Luke's Memorial Hospital today following an apparent heart attack yesterday during his assault trial here in Spokane. Paramedics rushed Taylor to the hospital after he asked for a break during cross-examination. Taylor is accused of second-degree assault for allegedly pistol whipping Crumb reporter Jeff Burnside. Taylor testified yesterday that Burnside started the fight, and a witness corroborated with Taylor's testimony. After a long recess, the trial reconvened without Taylor, who waived his right to be present. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up after more than an hour of active trading. And in sports, the Philadelphia 76ers downed the Seattle Sonics last night by a score of 106-99. Ferris beat Rogers in a close one, 52-49. In weather, look for snow, possible freezing rain this morning. More clouds and a 60% chance of rain or wet snow tonight. Today's high around 34, tonight's low down to 32, and it's currently 32 degrees. Thank you for joining us this morning. The rest of the Q6 News team will be back tonight at 5. More of the Today Show just ahead. We hope you have a good day.